All right. So officially, you're welcome to this session. And as we discussed last week, we are building a currency converter, and we started from scratch, and we are looking at the various aspects of this whole thing and how we are approaching it. We are looking at using various programming paradigm to achieve that. So last week we started using procedural to get it working, and fortunately we're able to get to the stage where our converter could convert from from I think a few currencies, right? We toggle 5 different currencies to the US dollars. But the challenge that we currently have is the fact that the rate that we are using is fixed, like we have hard coded a rate in there. And so it's like, even though the rates are changing on the market on a regular basis, our program is not adapting to that, and that's like a disadvantage which we hopefully look forward to fixing. But then, with regards to today's session, we want to see what we did last week using the procedural programming paradigm. Sorry, using the procedural programming paradigm, we want to see how we can use functional programming. So we did procedural for last week. We want to see how we can use built-in functions. I mean, we can build in. I didn't say built-in functions. We are looking at coding our own functions to do the work that we want to do. So let's see, so that at least it will be a way to practice how to create functions and how to use functions. That will be the end goal. So as always, we have to brainstorm on what we are going to achieve at the end of the day and how we are going to implement it. So for those of us who weren't here last week, let me just run what we have currently so that we get to see what we did last week. Okay, so this is the basic program. Hide this here. Then we are going to run this program Python, then main 2.py. Okay, so when we run it, the first thing is that it gives us a list of the various currencies that our application supports right now, and it says that choose your currency's number. So you want to currently okay, so it's from USD to any currency. That's what we've implemented right now. The converter converts an amount of money from USD to any of these 5 currencies. So we are saying that choose your currency's number. If I go ahead and I choose, say, 1 for Ghana cedis, it says how much do you want to convert. So this is like how much USD do you have that you want to convert. So let's say I have 120 USD to convert, and it does the conversion for me, and it says it's 1,668 Ghana cedis. Okay, so basically that is the functionality that we've built right now, and we can see that we have a lot of code here, but then we want to see if we are able to convert it into functions that will do the work for us. Okay, so going through it and seeing how it's implemented with the code, we have this line of code printing the very first line for us. That's like the title of our application as it stands now. Then this also prints out this information, the list of available currencies. It prints it out for us. So this line is doing that. Then we created a dictionary in Python, which is like just a key and a value. And the key here is the currency. So I don't know if they call it shortcut or symbol, whatever it's called, for the representation for the currency and the exchange rate for that currency with respect to the US dollar. So for Ghana cedis, we are quoting it at 13.9. That means $1 is equal to 13.9 Ghana cedis, and the same with the other currencies as we have. So that is being represented by the dictionary. Then by default, we set this currency variable to the value GHS. This currency variable here, we are going to use it when we are displaying the value. So you see that when displaying the value, we put the currency symbol over there, and that is coming from this currency variable. So now if I go ahead and I choose a different currency when running the program, say I want naira, which is 5, I say enter 5, and I want to convert 120 dollars to naira, it says 84,000 naira. Okay, and you can see right here that we have the naira symbol appended in front, okay, or put in front of the value that it converted or got at the end. So that is coming from this particular variable that we are using, and by default it is set to Ghana cedis. And when we come in here, this is where we are actually asking the person a question that choose your currency's number. So when we ask the person with the help of this input function, so if you don't know Python, this is the way that we are set user input in Python. So by saying input, then we pass the string in there that tells it, outputs it to the person. Then anything that is gotten from that response, we want to convert that into an integer, because we are giving you, say choose a number 1 2 3 4 5. We want you to choose between these these numbers. So at the end of the day, we have to make sure that what you type in is a number indeed. So that's what we are trying to achieve with this. Then we pass it to this particular variable that is like currency number. Then we go on to check for the selected currency. So which of them did the person choose? So if the person chose 5, we want to check if currency number is equal to 1, then we are setting the currency variable to Ghana cedis. If it is 2, we are setting it to to D. If it is 3, we are setting it to that, like that. Okay, so this is where we set the actual currency symbol. Okay, remember that by default we set it to Ghana cedis, but then based on the number that the person choose, we reassign it to a particular currency symbol. Then if the person ends up entering something that doesn't exist amongst this 1 to 5, we go ahead and say sorry, no currency exists with this number, hence the default, which is Ghana cedis, will be used. And that is the essence of creating this default over here, so that if somebody enters a wrong one, we'll still have a currency already assigned to it. Then we go on to take how much do you want to convert. Yeah, so we are asking for the amount of money they want to convert, and we believe that with money the value can be in a form of decimal with decimal places, and for that matter we go ahead and use the float. So we convert it to float, and that is what we did over there. Great. So from there we came here to grab the rate. Remember that we had coded the rates in here in a form of a dictionary. So based on the currency that you chose, so if you chose Ghana cedis, is a dictionary, we want to use this as a key to grab the rate, and that's what we are doing here, trying to grab the rate from the currency dictionary by just passing the currency that you chose. I mean, from here we set the various currencies here. So depending on the number you chose, if you chose 5, then it means currency is NGN, and for that matter our key will be NGN. So we are passing NGN as the key to this currency dictionary, and it will return the rate. The final amount will be the amount to be converted, that's the amount you enter to convert, multiplied by our rate, and we run that off to 2 decimal places, and that will be our final amount. We go ahead to print the final amount, but before then we print the currency symbol before the final amount, and that is the output you are seeing. So that was just a quick summary for the sake of those who were not here last week. So now let's think it through. If we want to create a function to do this work, how in your own way will you approach it? If you were to abstract some of these things and turn them into functions that you can easily call, which of them will you abstract into a function and how will you approach it? Yes, I hope the question is understandable. We are thinking through. Okay, so unmute yourself and let's discuss. If you had to convert this into a functional, I mean using functions, which of these are you going to want to abstract so that you can easily call and use? Yes. Oh, anyone? Or I should start asking, calling people? Hi. Guys, are you there? Yes. Okay, let's start calling people. Abioladi, are you there? Abioladi, are you there?
Yes.
Next person on the list is Amanu. Please don't feel shy about it. If you don't know, unmute yourself. Like it's not like I'm putting you on the hot seat or something.
Yes, I mean, I'm
We are
responding.
discussing, and our goal is that at the end of the day, everybody should get that experience in tackling some of these issues. So don't feel shy if you don't know. Just come on, let's have a chat. Let's figure out what the challenges you face with some of these concepts so that we can all help ourselves. Amanu, are you there? So Abioladi or Amanu? Can you guys hear me? Abioladi, I can't see your microphone icon. That means you may not have connected with your microphone, so you'd have to check it. If you are speaking, I won't hear you. Yeah, so now I can see your microphone icon.
You can see it.
I can hear you.
You can hear me.
I can hear you.
Hello?
Kindly check. I can see that the green square is on your icon. That probably means you are actively speaking, but we can hear you. I hope I'm not the only one who cannot hear. So kindly check your audio because we can't hear you. Amanu, are you there?
Yes, Doctor. Can you hear
Wow.
me?
I hope I'm not the one. Guys, can anyone else? I mean, Barokin, are you there? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me, Doctor?
Hi, Adewale, can you hear me? I hope it's not coming from me.
Yeah, I can hear you, Doc.
Oh, goodness. Then it's probably coming from me because I can't hear you as well. Let me see what happened. Oh my goodness. Hello, 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 hello. Nope, I can't hear anything.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you clearly, Doc.
That's strange. I still can't hear anything.
Hello, sir.
What will I do now? Last week I had a similar problem. and I had to stop the recording because of that. I hope that's not the same issue we are having right now. Please, guys, someone should just unmute and be talking to me so that I'm trying to figure out.
Oh, okay. Go
Yeah,
ahead. Let
yeah,
me
yeah.
know how I can hear you.
I can hear you now. All right,
Yeah, okay,
thank
that's
you.
good.
Alright, so sorry about that. Okay, so now let me see. Abioladi, let me hear you. I hope I'm pronouncing the name well.
Hello?
Yeah, hi.
Can you hear me now, sir?
Yes, please, I can hear you.
Okay. I do not really know, but let me just try my best.
Sure, sure.
Okay. For me particularly, I think
Hmm.
we are going to create a function for the rate.
Okay,
We are going to create a function for the rate. Then the currency will come as an argument for it. Then I
okay,
don't know. Maybe the currency will come as an argument for the function
okay,
we are creating.
okay.
Then once we are calling the rate, I think once we can be calling the rate, inputting the number of value we want to convert it.
Hmm.
By then, maybe we are going to get the conversion.
Okay. All right. So let's see that. If we have the amount to be converted, say amount to be converted. Are you going to, is the amount to be converted going to be part of the, I mean, the body of the function? That's the block of the function. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, the amount will be part of it.
Okay. So, but then how do you get the amount? Doesn't mean that we are going to run the input function to get the amount inside the body of the function, or are we getting it outside and bringing it inside?
One thing, if eventually
Mm-hmm.
the amount, I don't think the amount should be part of it. It's like you making the rate being the function, then currency would be the I think the currency should be the argument. Then you can declare it by calling the function rate.
So
When
what exactly is the rate function going to be doing? So if let's say I create a function called rate and I'm passing currency in here, what exactly is this function
yes,
going to be doing? Think about it.
okay. I'm thinking.
All right, so let's call on someone else, but think about it. We'll discuss it. So,
Okay.
oh, Amanu is no longer on. Hi, Barakin, are you there? Hi, Barakin.
Yeah, Doc, I'm here, but the place I am right
Oh,
now is
okay,
noisy. Maybe I get you. I can listen, but right
okay.
now,
All right, that's fine. That's fine. Uh, I hope I don't butcher this name. Chiagosium, is that it? Please forgive me if I am failing to pronounce the name well. Are you there? Hi, his name Chiagosium. Oh, are you there? Egibo. Hi. Nope. Hi, Kobe. Hi, Kobe.
yeah, Doc. Good evening. I'm here.
Good evening. All right. Good. Do you know anything about this that you can share with us?
No, please, no, please.
Okay, all right, that's fine. All right, so I'll try and break it down as we go on, so that at least you appreciate that. Okay. What's the name? Victor. Victor, are you there? Hi, Victor.
Hello. I'm
Hi.
sorry, I just did the school, so I'm still trying to catch up.
Okay. Okay. All right. Hi, Adewale. Adewale, come and save us.
We save you. So yeah, so I guess it depends on how we want to do it.
Yeah.
So like we usually do, if we walk through the problem.
Mm.
So the question is, what are functions, right?
Yeah.
So my idea of functions is that functions are just like blocks of code that you want to take. They're just part of what will normally be in your program, right? So you are taking out to abstraction, as they say, right? So you're taking them out from the program, like, and putting them somewhere else. So you can call them without making your program bloated. So we want to look at what block of code of all blocks, like, so they can probably be multiple of code in this our program would we call every time we run this program.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so it is that block of code or blocks of code, if you have multiple, I would then spin off into a function. So I don't know, I can't remember who was talking earlier about a rate function. That's an idea. So I kind of did something like this in C a few months ago, right? In C you can use the switch statement, right?
Yeah.
So but you can't do that in Python. So I did something like this with C. I use a switch statement. So but it's the same principle here. So you could use that branch, the branching in your program, when you use the conditionals, you are matching the number to your whatever you've saved your currency as. That is possible to spin that off, right, as a function. Okay. That's one option. It's also possible to use the part where you do your calculation, right? Okay. The amount part. Okay. You can also use that as a function, spin out the function, right? So yeah, depending on how you want to design your program, you can spin multiple or even just one or different ones. It's possible to create one function, replace one part, or replace 20 different parts of the function. It now depends on how you wish to design your program.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So I like the fact that you stated the importance of functions in programming, and we should always appreciate that when we want to use functions in our program, so that you don't just spin up function for spinning up function's sake, but then it's more importantly you're looking at how often you're going to be using this code, and if let's say in this particular script you're writing or the whole program that you're writing, if there is going to possibly be a need to use the same functionality multiple times, then putting it into a function makes a lot of sense. Okay, so let's say that the part where we are doing the amount calculation, for instance, the amount calculation, let's assume that this part of the program, no, in fact that is a reality, this part of the program that we have written currently, that's a conversion of USD to what, to any currency. Okay, what if we decide to do, let's say, a different currency to this? Are we still going to be doing the amount calculation? And if yes, can we just create one function, okay, that we can always call anytime we need to do that kind of calculation? So that is what based on that, to create functions. So functions are like the pieces of code that you write. It makes you put a certain functionality. The name even explains it, like a certain functionality into a block of code. so that anytime you need that function, you just call it. If anytime I'm asked to explain the concept of functions, I say you should take it as action words. Okay, but then this time around you are rather creating your own action words, that's verbs. So if I say sit down, it's a verb, and we all know what sit down is. Okay, in the same way, if I say print, print is like a verb, but the Python language understands what print is, and it knows exactly what to do when I say print. So I can go ahead and create my own function, create my own action word, such that anytime we call it, it does something for us. And if I know that, hey, I'm going to be displaying multiple things on my screen when I write this program, then there is a need to have a function that does that. So that is the reason why the print function was created. So in this our case, our end goal is not like to, focus on just the function that we are creating, but then to do it such that we all appreciate why we chose to create this particular function and how we go about creating that function, so that if you are doing something on your own, you can equally create some of these functions by yourself. So that is the end goal and why we want to do something like that. So taking it from these two aspects, let's say the conditional checking and the amount calculation, let's go back to our code. If we look at it, this is where we are checking for the conditions, and if we are ever going to do this more than once in our program, then it only makes sense for us to have it in a form of a function. But then if not, then there's no sense in having, it wouldn't make much sense. I wouldn't say there's no sense, because you can always create a function and maybe at another time reuse it for something else. But in this particular program, if we are going to repeat it, we can go ahead and create a function. Just to cut the long talk short, let's focus on trying to convert, let's say here, this final amount, the amount calculation and things, let's create a function that would take in the amount the person enters, then take in the rate and do the calculation and return the final function, the final amount for us. Okay, just something simple so that we all get to see how it is done. So I drew this thing here that shows that a function is basically a block of code represented by this block, and all that it does is it takes in some inputs, then it processes that input that it has taken in, then it outputs something. So basically that is what a function is in programming. So it's just a block of code, and all it does is it takes in some inputs, processes the input, and produces something. So in is it physics? Back in high school, you learned about machine, where the machine takes in an input, does something to the input, and gets you an output. So you can think about it in that regard. All right. So now, if we want a function that is able to calculate, so let's call the function, let's say, how will you call it? We are looking at a calculator, but what does it calculate? Let's say, let me just call it amount calc. That's calculating the amount. Okay, so someone should help us. How are we going to implement this? We want to pass, say, the amount the person wants to convert, so amount to be converted to convert, and the rate of the currency. The reason why I'm adding these two is so that irrespective of the currency that you choose, this function will still hold. Okay, we would be able to do that. All right, so yeah, this is already done. Or anyone's a concern about what I've just done? Otherwise, someone should just go ahead and tell me the block of code that I should put in here so that we are able to get the amount, the final amount from this particular function. Yes. Yes, anyone? Alright, so let this be as interactive as possible. The moment it becomes dull and I feel like I have to be doing all the talking, my zeal to continue goes down.
The final amount should be final amount equals to
Okay.
the round over amount to convert times rate.
Okay, so we are going to run this to amount to convert times the rates. Then just as we did earlier, we rounded it to 2 decimal places. Okay, so that works. And what are we doing? Are we printing? Are we returning? How do we make sure that we are going to get this final value outside our function? How do we do that? What will you choose? How will you achieve that? You know, this final value you've declared here is like a variable that is only available within the function that you are defining. But how do we get the value outside of this function so that anywhere we call it, we can get access to the value? Yes. Oh, guys, are we tired? Should we go and sleep?
Why? I think your screen is frozen on my end. I'm not seeing any function body or anything.
Hey, you can't see this. Let me see.
I can see your replay screen, but what's the
Oh
number screen is
my
minus
goodness.
58 to 37.
Oh my goodness. I believe everyone too is facing the same problem. So all that I'm writing you can't see. Sorry about
Yeah, I
that.
can see the replay screen.
I don't know why it
Look, I can actually.
you okay. I'm just okay. So now I believe everyone can see it.
Yeah. I see you.
Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, so I was just I was writing. Yep. So this is what we have so far, but you know that if we call this function somewhere, at the end of the day, we are not going to get any output. Like you can't get any output from
What kind of function is a function? Because Python is kind of easily designed. They are not limits. It's not actually, they don't actually force you to define what your function does. In C, you would have to define the return type, right?
Yeah.
So there are two kinds of functions, right? There are functions that return something, and there are functions that don't return anything, right?
Yeah.
So they have a side effect instead. So if you want, you can print this value from inside your function. That's the side effect, right? Your function is doing something, but it's not returning anything to your program. Then the function can actually return the value that is calculated. So depending on how we want to design our program, those are our options, and it's actually possible to do both, right? You can print and then return the value. So, like I said, a lot of these things are actually design choices. You have options. So the function can return the value to your program, and then like do something with it in the program, or if that's the last end part of the program, you just want to print it. Yeah, that's up to you as well.
Okay. All right. So that's good, and we may probably have to explain side effects, and I mean the two ways that you can get the outcome as you have explained right now. But then my question is, isn't like one of those two ways better than the other? Using either the print or
that's, I think it's more reliable to return from your function than handle it in your program. Yeah,
Exactly.
but like I said, it also depends on what point you are in your program. If this is the last step in your program, if you're just returning to your program only to put it again, that doesn't really make sense, right? Right? If
Yeah,
all you're going to do is put that value, return it to your program, and then or inside the print functional call would do the same thing. But you're just adding
mm,
one extra step. Yeah. But I guess
mm,
the more reliable thing to do, depending on other thing is that you want to make your programs modular, right? So you can extend them
yeah,
later.
exactly.
For a so better design program would return the value instead of putting
Exactly,
it.
exactly. So that's what I was also thinking. So to the rest of the people who do not appreciate this, what he's saying is that at the end of the day, when I drew this thing up here, so you people didn't see this my nice drawing. When I drew this thing up here, I said we pass an input to like this function that is like the block of code, and it processes it and gives us an output. Okay, but the output is in two different ways. The output, we have the output where you the function will hold the value for you, I mean the output for you, until you ask it, I mean for it, or you want to go and use the value. This is the example I use. Say let me use one that will resonate with people. You send your younger sibling to go and take, say, the number of someone. Maybe you met someone on the road, you want to take the person's contact, and you send your younger sibling to go get the number for you. So that's a function. We are sending the function to go and work. You should do something for us. And what this function should do is get us a number. There are two ways that this sibling of yours can get the number to you. They can go get the number and start shouting it out to you. Say the number is 024588, then you do whatever you want to do with the number. They've shouted it out to you. The other way is that they probably write the number in a sheet of paper and bring it to you. So you take that sheet of paper and do whatever you want to do with the number. Okay, so basically, to relate that to functions, if this particular amount that we are looking at, we can just go ahead and say print, then we print our final amount. What this means is that as soon as this function is run, like that is like as soon as your brother got or your sibling got the number, it starts displaying it on the screen. So once it gets, this function is run, it gets to this line, it's going to display the results on your screen. So it's like your sibling shouting the contact out as soon as you got the contact. The other way is you use the return instead. So when you use the return, this value will be returned back to you whenever you use the function. So if you want, when you call this function anywhere at all, it brings you back the value, but it doesn't display it until you want to display it. So after you've gotten the value, if you want to display it, then you go ahead and use probably a print function to display it. Sometimes you just don't even, you are not going to display the amount. You are probably, you need a value to go and do some other calculation somewhere. So you go and use it in your calculation, not necessarily to display it to the screen. Okay, so those are the two ways, like the person shouting out the number to you, or putting it on a sheet of paper and bringing it to you, because that sheet of paper, maybe the number you didn't even request for it. I mean, you want to go and give it to someone else, so you don't necessarily need it to be shouted out. That's like the analogy I'm using here. Okay, so as he was discussing, like if your sole purpose is to display the output of your function on the screen, then you can go ahead and use the print. But then mostly when you are writing your program and you are creating functions as we are doing here, we are looking at reusability of that block of code. We should be able to reuse this block of code to do something else along the line. For that matter, it's always best to use the return, so that it always brings you the value. If you want to go and use it for another calculation, go and use it. Because if it is a print, you can't go and, I mean, the print function, when it's just going to display it on your screen, and you'll not be able to go and use that value to do anything. But if it came in the form of a return, you can reuse it as many times as you want. You can print it. I mean, you can assign it to a variable and use it anyhow you want. Yeah. So those are the two ways that you can do that. Okay. So let's just focus on this part of the function and try and get our program working. So we are going to create a new file, call it main3 main3.py. Then what we'll do with main3 is we'll copy the content of main2, right? Then we'll convert that part to the function that we just created. So the function we created, so we don't even need to comment this out, but then it will be there. So let's say function to convert. Okay, let's do it like that. Then how did we call it over there? Amount calc. Okay, so let's use the same. So we define amount underscore calc this way. Then why is the indentation not working? Then I think we passed in some argument, right? We passed in some arguments. What did I even do? What was the argument? Amount to convert. So we had this amount to convert here, and the rates, right? And the rates. Then so I think now, okay, good. The indentation should work. All we need right now is to bring this, and that should work, right? Now we'll probably go ahead and say return final amounts. This is like a very basic way to approach it. It's going to work, but then you realize that we've just added extra code for nothing, and this part isn't working. Maybe this part will even have to be inside here, but then let's see. Since it's being returned, would rather have to call amount. Okay, let me pause there. I want us to understand this part, the function part, and probably refactor it somehow. So basically this was what we had initially, was doing the work, and we said we are creating a function. At the end of the day, we still have the same thing in here. So what's the essence? That's the question that I believe some of us may have. Why did we need to do it? Because when we had it as just this single line over there, it was working fine. All right, and as we explained earlier, the essence of having a function is that now this function, I can recall it somewhere else and use it right in our program, anywhere in the program. Oh, my network. Wow. Okay, but then to simplify this, we may not even need to call this again, or we may not need to even assign this. You should just go ahead and say return, and that should work, right? So all that we are doing is that we are returning the outcome of this run function, and this run function, all is doing is multiplying the amount to be converted by the rate and making sure that we leave the answer in two decimal places, and we are returning this. This means that anywhere we use this function, we are going to get the outcome to be in two decimal places, and it's based on the two values that we pass here. Okay, so that's basically how you can approach it. We could actually go ahead to print the outcome as we discussed. So there are two ways. Please, anytime you are using a function, there are two ways that you can do that. I mean, I didn't really mention side effects. Okay, so your functions can have side effects in that they like let's use the print function for instance. It's shout out whatever is happening in here. Okay, so people outside the function now get to see, oh, this is what it did. Or you can implement your function such that it goes to do something outside itself, not necessarily something related in there like that. Okay, so you should always think about it when you are implementing your functions and how you want to implement it. But I feel that this is like the best way to present it as it stands now. Then whenever you have, this is just a definition of a function. Okay, by doing this we're actually not doing the calculation. So even if we go ahead and print it now, it's not going to print anything because this is just a function definition. What we mean by that is this is like we have defined the meaning of a word. So I use the example that functions are basically action words. Okay, so you have created a new word called amount calc and you've defined what it should do anytime it is called, but then until you call it nothing is going to happen. So this amount calc, what I've said is that, hey, amount calc, anytime someone calls you, they should add, I mean, they are going to send you to go and do something for them. But these are the things that you should always require before you do it for them. Require them to give you the amount to be converted and require them to give you the exchange rate. Once you have those two things, this is what you are going to do. You are going to multiply those two numbers and round your outcome to two decimal place. Then finally return that value that you are going to get to whoever called you. So basically that is the implication of this function that we have created. So we go ahead and say now to call it, we'll just say amount calc, then we pass the value to it. I mean these arguments that we have, okay, or the parameters we have here, we'll pass the arguments to it. So in here we have created rate. This means that we could actually have just gone ahead and say this is x and y, because what is happening here is not the actual values that we are passing, but then it is just a representation, or you can say placeholders. We know that anytime amount calc is being called, we expect it to take in two inputs, then it should do something with those two inputs. We don't care what those two inputs are. All we know that it should take two inputs, multiply it, find the product, and round the product off to two decimal places and return that product. That is the essence. Okay, so this could be our function definition, but then when we are calling it, we have to make sure that we are passing the actual values that we want for this calc function to actually use to do the calculation. For that matter, we'll go ahead and say what's the value, the amount to be converted or to convert. We'll pass that. Then the next one is rate. Then we'll pass rate to it as well. So remember that we didn't use the print function in this particular function. So at the end of the day, when this program runs right now, it's going to do the calculation, but it's not going to show it off to anyone. It will not display it on your screen. You will not get to see it. All you are going to see is, I mean, you not get to see anything, even though the calculation has gone on and is actually holding a value. This is like when your sibling brought you the sheet of paper and you are yet to open it. You've sent him, he's done his work, he's brought you the sheet of paper, but you're yet to open it. So to open it, what you can do is probably assign a new variable to this, and all of a sudden our code is becoming a lot more than it used to be, which isn't like preferable in that case. But then this is when it will make sense. And all that is happening here is that this particular thing, remember, your sibling that you sent to go and do something, it has brought you the number. It's on a sheet of paper. So now you are giving the number to this. And all that it means is that anytime you call final amount, that is the number. That's the sheet of paper the person brought. So the number is in here, or the actual final amount pertaining to this question or this particular case is stored in here. So we can go ahead and print it. The other thing that we could have done is, since here we are printing, we could have taken this off, then grab this, because it will be evaluated. Then we come in here, and instead of this final amount, we put that in there. So at the end of the day, this is like saying, hey, print. It's just like saying print, then I pass whatever is in there. So this particular thing is a function. Amount calculate is a function that returns what? The product of two numbers rounded to two decimal places. So it return it there, and it will give it to print function. Then print function, what does it do? The print function is supposed to display something on the screen. So whatever you are returning, print function will now display it on the screen. So basically that is what we have done with this line of code as well, trying to print it out with this line of code. Any questions with regards to that? Any questions? Can I assume that everyone understands what we just did? Any question? Okay. So if there are no questions, then I want to assume everyone understands that. So if this is what is happening, this is what we achieved, and we expect that when we run this code, it should give us the same output as the initial one that we created. Okay, so let's see. With the initial one that we created, let's go ahead and run this. So this is main3, right? Main3, and run this. Okay, good. Choose your currencies number. Let's choose 4. Then it says, how much do you want to convert? I want to convert 120. $120, and this is the value. So to know whether we are getting the right thing or not, we can run the previous one, which was main2, then pass the same information. We chose 4 as a currency, then we entered 120. Let's see if we get the same value. 1471.8. Yes, so finally we are getting the same value with both of them. So basically this is just a very easy way, and it makes our code reusable. Okay, but then when you are creating a function, personally I prefer to use variable names that represent like what I expect them to take, because now I have x and y there. For you to use it somewhere in my code, you may wonder like, well, what is x representing, what is y representing, because we know that that's the function you created and you can take any values. It's basically anytime we need to multiply two numbers and return them rounded, the product rounded to two decimal places, we can actually use this function that we have created. But then what was your intention for creating a function? To calculate a final amount from the amount to be converted and the rate. So I prefer you call them like that. So I'll say amount to convert, then that will replace x. Then I'll call this, you can call it anything, but at least always make sure that the names of the variables that you are using, like, they have meaning, that you can always come back to it and understand why you did what. So now anytime I come back to this code,
let me just
sure.
So there's a rule of thumb in programming that your code is read more time than it is run, right? So that's why documenting your code is important. And we talked about yesterday about using other people's code base. Other people are probably going to read your code, right? So you want to help the person that is reading your code that is not you, right? To be able to follow your code. And the way you can help them is by using relevant variable names or variables. Even your functions, you have names that will give them a hint as to what that function does. You can name your function X, right? Or Y.
Yeah.
Or give it a name that will give an okay, amount calculator. That means this function is going to take two numbers and return a product, right?
Yeah.
Give the person an idea.
Yeah.
I tell the person that the parameters for this function are amount to convert and rate.
Exactly.
Say, just by reading it line by line and looking at the logic, they can have an idea of what it's about, does, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So when you combine this with proper documentation, you help people follow your code. Not you don't have to rely on just following the logic of your code, right?
Yeah.
That help people who are not as conversant with code as you, they're not as proficient with you to follow your code, right?
Yeah.
So that's something you should consider.
Very important, and thanks for adding that. So as we all can see, like the way we are working on these things right now, just by going through it, as Adeole explained, you yourself, even if you have no knowledge of programming per se, you could see that, oh, it says function to convert. Let's say this, I mean, it's not complete, but then you would have completed it. Function to convert what to what. Even personally, when I'm doing things like this, I like to do these things. Like, I mean, I can share. I've not opened my virtual machine. I would have opened it and showed you. Like when I'm practicing some of these things, I like to comment it in a way that anybody at all that reads it, and even if you don't have programming knowledge, you should be able to appreciate what I was trying to do there. Okay, so that's very important, as Adele has mentioned, and even it's going to save you yourself. In fact, there are some codes that I wrote, I mean, in PHP some years back, and now when I go back to them, I don't even know what they mean. Like, I can't make sense out of it. The funny thing is that this is a software that I'm still using, and I mean, I have people who are using it, and sometimes they have problems. They call me to come and look at it, and I struggle to make sense of my own code. I have to go over and over, test the code again to see, oh, so this part of the, where you have to first of all comment out some lines and see what the output looks like without them before you realize that, oh, okay, this code is doing this, is doing that. Okay, so to save yourself from that problem, it's best to choose this route where you are documenting your code and you are choosing meaningful variable names, and even function names. I mean, in Python, maybe in other programming language too, they are called identifiers. So there are rules governing choosing identifiers in Python. I think I've ever taught that during one of the PLDs. Yeah, so very important, and thanks for adding that. So now we've been able to abstract this into a function. Okay, that's the job for us. We can also convert any of these. I didn't really mention this particular one too. We can convert that to a function that we call anytime to get us the specific currency units that we want. And remember that this is also helping us get the specific rate that we want. So we can actually abstract all of these into one function body. I mean, one function that does the checking for us and returns probably the rate and the checking, what is it, the currency, the specific currency. So that can also be done. I would want to leave that probably as an assignment for us to try on our own. Try and abstract this part of the code into a function. Okay, and that function should probably take in, what will it take in, what the outcome of, I mean, you ask the person, yes, so it will take in this currency number and it will do the check. So it takes in this currency number, does the check, and return, what is it going to return? It's going to return the currency symbol that we have and the rate. I hope we get it. Let me try and write it down so that try and implement it on your own just for practice. The code is still available. The link is in the chat. You can grab it and have access to the code. So you are abstracting that part into a function. This function, so whatever you decide to call that your function, should take in two things. Is it two or just one thing? It takes in the currency number that the person chose, right? Then it should return two things. It's going to return the rates for that specific currency the person chose and the currency symbol of the currency symbol, so that at the end of the day we know that we are going to then go ahead and pass this rate to our amount calc function that we have created. Then when we are printing the outcome, we would append this to the currency symbol to the outcome. So this is your assignment, to work on getting this into a function. Okay, yes, so at least that shows us how to create the functions. But one more thing that we need to do for our currency converter to be complete, and that is more of brainstorming right now. So let's brainstorm that part, try and figure that one out, then we can put it into code and make this complete. For now, all that we have is converting from USD to a different currency. Okay, but then how do we convert from that currency to USD? So from other currencies to USD. And if we are able to implement this, then we can go ahead and do from any currency to any currency, like from one currency to the other, irrespective of what the currency is. Mostly the rate that we are giving is with respect to the USD. Okay, but then if I know how to convert one currency to USD, and I also know how to convert USD to another currency, then it means I can convert this to that using the intermediary, which is the USD. So now let's focus on how do I convert from other currencies to USD. So let's get started with, say, Ghana cedis to the USD. And when you check online, mostly the rates that will be quoted in 1 USD is equal to, I think by today it's around 13 Ghana cedis. Last week it was 13.9. Anyway, so let's maintain our 13.9. Okay, how do we implement it? This has nothing to do with code. I mean, you yourself, if I gave you this rate, exchange rate, and I ask you to convert, say, 4,000 Ghana cedis to US dollars, how are you going to approach it? So let's discuss that and come up with, last week we discussed it to an extent, but we had to pause on it and focus on the other one, and now we have it working, so we can get back to it and get this part 2 working, so that we have a very comprehensive code that can do any form of conversion that we want, provided we know the exchange rate. Yes, so anyone? Yes. Oh.
Yeah, Doc, I think last week we were multiplying the dollar exchange rate.
Okay.
So I think this time we should divide.
So take us through using the 4,000 Ghana cedis to convert to USD with this rate 13.9 to 1 USD. How do we end up achieving that? Can you help with that? Like using the 4,000 Ghana cedis as an example.
So if $1 is like 13.6 Ghana cedis, so to convert 4,000 now to dollars, you just divide it by the exchange rate.
So we should do 4,000 divided by 13.9, and you achieve that by, I mean, those of us who like that, how did you call that thing? I've even forgotten. Where they say, if for 13.9 Ghana cedis is equivalent to $1, then 4,000, and you ask yourself, is 4,000 more or less? I remember that mathematics. And you say more, if more or less
Talking
divide.
about
Or
what problems?
is it really word problems? I mean, we apply it in word problems as well, but was
Can
there
you
a
cross
name
one?
for cross multiplication, something like that? But was it in proportion? I think it was in proportion that we ratio and proportion that we used to do that thing, cross multiplication and things. Anyway, so would that work here? If you say 4,000 will be more, and you say if more or less will divide, which one is the less here? I've even forgotten my mathematics. But then let's see. So at the end of the day, we have this dividing. Okay, will it be the same for every currency? So let's say we had um I don't know the rates. Let me check the rates. USD to the pound. Let me try that and see. So 1 USD is equal to 0.82 pounds. Okay, so let's try that. Would that work? 0.82 pounds. What is the symbol? That thing usually confuses me. I mean, let me write P for now. Then it's equal to 1 USD. If I want to convert 4,000 pounds to USD, will it still be 4,000 over 0.82? Is that it?
No, what we did actually last week was we confirmed that the USD was higher than all the currencies.
No.
So the
So
method
no,
will
no, no.
continue.
USD is not. That was with the. That's why I went to choose the pound. That was with the currencies that we chose. But then we should be able to make our program as general as possible. So pound is actually heavier than the USD. So you realize that this is less than one. Like 1 USD is actually less than £1. So we want to know if it will apply, because we want to get a general method that can apply irrespective of how a value compares against the USD. So with this work, let me just do a quick Google search just to help us. So 4,000 pounds to USD, and that would be 4,900. Okay, so that should be, would this give us a value? The value is 4,903. I mean, where's my calculator? Let me bring up a calculator. So these are the practical things that you go through when you are brainstorming your projects. Last week I said that software engineering is about solving problems after problems. You even end up creating problems for yourself when you are trying to solve one. Or I saw a comment in one group. The person said, solve one problem, create two more. So we realize that, I mean, I feel that it may be like that, except that the rate that they are using to calculate is probably different from what we got, right? Because yeah, so the division should actually work for that. The division should work. Then let's try the Ghana cedis. So from cedis to USD, that is 308.97. So that will be 308 point something. So let's use the calculator to do our division and see if we get the same outcome. 4,000 divided by 13.9. What do we get? 200. I mean, is difference in terms of the rates that they are using. So once we know that when you divide it's close, that is correct. So yeah, what it means is that when we use the division, it works. Let's try the naira, because I think last week it was the naira that was giving us a problem. I hope. Okay, so 4,000 naira is 9 USD. So in that case, we would have said 4,000 naira divided by the conversion, that is 1 USD. We were quoting 700, but let's use a value here and see. Naira to USD is, oh no, so ours, we were actually using USD to naira, right? So, hey, I don't really, are you seeing the rates that they are quoting here?
Yeah, I'm saying.
I mean,
Even if you walk into the central bank today, you can't
you
get that
get it.
shit.
Do you know the funny thing? There was a time, I think not so long ago, when we started recording the sessions on Telegram. We had one meeting like that. I think we were struggling with our recording, so I suggested that we go with uh Twitch. No, like I stream. We purchased StreamYard Premium so that I stream to Twitch directly and to YouTube as well, so that you don't have to record it locally. And we're doing
Yeah,
contributions.
I remember that was Simple Shell, right?
Yeah, I think before Simple Shell. Like we started it before
Okay.
Simple Shell. Yeah, so I got, I think, two people from Nigeria saying wanted to send money to me, but then the means that I set up wasn't working. So I needed an intermediary person. That is what in back in school I used to have a lot of Nigerian mates. So someone who is Nigerian but has stayed in Ghana and can convert the money. I mean, he receives naira and sends me that. So the person, I reached out to one person, said, "Okay, we'll do it." Then I went to check online. I saw the rates and say, "Hey, no, 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 no. Like even if she goes to the central bank as you just said, there's no way she'll get that rate." That was when I learned that, oh, Google's rate is way off, because now that you're seeing 400 and something, I'm already hearing that people are changing it for like 800 naira already.
I'm not even talking about the parallel rates. I'm saying the actual official rate is actually
more than this.
This is outdated. Yes, so they update it frequently, and yeah.
Anyway, since we are using it, let's go ahead and, hey, did I just change it again? Oh, just to confirm our calculations. I need, okay, 4 4. So let's make it 4 4 4 and see if it gives us what we are looking for. 4 4 4. So where is our calculator? Clear this. 4,000 divided by 4 4 4. So that is 9. Okay, so we get it. So we realize that with this particular one, if you are converting from any other currency to the USD, the division works, right? Okay, so we are going to incorporate this into our code. How are we going to incorporate it? Let's think through it. Now the current code that we have only does one thing. It does from USD to any of our 5 currencies that we have set. And we want to do the opposite. We know that to achieve that outcome, all we have to do is what? Divide the rate by the amount to be converted. It's as simple as that. But the current implementation that we have does one thing. It does just multiplication. How will we be able to ensure that, I mean, we can go both ways? Like, what do you think? Any suggestions? Just to ensure that we are able to convert from either USD to our currencies, or from other our currencies to USD. What do you think? Any suggestions? I mean, there are multiple ways that you can approach this problem. So think through it and let me know your suggestions on how to approach it. In terms of with regards to implementation in our code right now, what do you think? Yes. Anyone? Anyone? I believe the first thing you'd want to do is to know whether the person is trying to convert from USD to a different currency, or from a different currency to a different currency, like another currency, isn't it? And how will you implement something like that? Yes.
Okay, let me just chip in here. Because like
Okay.
I said, I did something like this a few months ago in C.
Mm.
So usually you want to start your currency converter, you usually do it this way, right? You start from one particular currency and then you
Mm-hmm.
build branches out.
Yeah.
So now you want to kind of do I guess there are three stages. Now you want to kind of invert, so you can go from currencies to USD,
Mm.
and eventually you want to go from one currency to another currency without going to USD, right?
Exactly.
So I think this is the second stage. So again, it depends on how your program is designed. So your design choices will affect the way your program is built, which is why they're called design choices, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, the way I did it then,
Mm.
again, because I was in C, and at the time, that was my level of my C. I didn't actually do because what you have here is like kind of hard coded the values, right?
Yeah.
So I did that as well, but I always expressed it as a coefficient. So I would say dollar over naira is equal to this, right?
Okay.
So yeah, that's always to be. You can if you can you set up the values that way, you can reverse them, right? So you can say USD over NGN is equal to this, and then you could have a value for NGN over USD, right? So you can always store two values, and then pick depending on what when you are keying in. You also have to change that the prompt you send to the user. So now they will have to choose two currencies, right? Or actually, yeah, two currencies. You won't say immediately you're assuming before you're assuming that they had dollars and went to buy some other currency. But I have to ask them to select what currency now, and then what the currency they have, what currency they want to change the money into. So you would then have like a branch. You say, for example, you say USD is one, and GBP is two, and GHS is three, like that. So you then have like like I said, it's always conditional, right? So you say if the values you've got in are 1 and 1 or 1 and this, you can then build your brackets from there, and you then apply the appropriate exchange rate to it, and then use that to pass that to your function, our one calculation function, and it will spit out the results for you.
Okay. All right. So
I guess that's one way to do it. There are also other ways, like because that's how I did it in C at the time.
Okay.
Like C has the switch statement, so these things are kind of once you just do it first time, just runs and runs. But Python doesn't have that. So all you can do this is also like the same dictionary that you had. You can add other values to that dictionary as well, right?
Yeah.
And then you pick that key. Yeah. So I think those are two ways to go about this.
All right. That's good. Yeah.
I also have another idea.
Okay, sure.
So, like I said before, Friday was like, if I want to convert any currency to another one other than the dollar, I'll use the dollar as my default.
Exactly.
Like, or when you send your sister to go and collect a number, he will bring a sheet of paper for you. He'll not announce the number.
Yeah.
So when you need it, time you'll open the number.
Exactly.
I'll try and create a function that anytime somebody wants to convert from CDs to dollars, it will first convert the CD to dollar.
Okay.
And now when I put in CD, then it will convert now that dollar to dollars straight and give me the output.
Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah, I mean, so that also works. Just as I think I drew it earlier up here as well, where we have, if you have a different currency, say you want to convert Ghana cedis to naira, so you convert it to dollars and you convert it, the value you get in dollars, and you convert it to naira. Okay, so that is good. Let's see how we are going to put in here. And back to what Adewale said, I think this is very important. So eventually, if we are going to, I mean, I hope that we get to that extent where we are going to convert this application into a graphical user interface application. We want to be able to give like the input boxes where the person inputs, I mean, or drop down. You have a drop down here. You choose which currency you are changing from. So say, hey, I am changing from Ghana cedis to dollars. So the person has to provide these two before you would know, or Ghana cedis to naira. So what is going to happen is that you pick these two currencies, and if the person said I'm changing from Ghana cedis to USD, you go ahead and do that kind of conversion. Here you are doing the division, right? For if it is cedis to dollars, you are doing division. If it is dollars to cedis, you are doing multiplication. So that is what we did. Divide by rates, right? And if it is USD to Ghana cedis, you say multiply by rate. It's the same rate, right? Multiply by rate. So by intuition, what I'm thinking right now is I'd want to check one thing. I want to see if my two currency, okay, so we will create two different, I mean, variables. One is from currency. With our current implementation of code, we create our from currency. That means which currency do you want to convert from. Then we'll ask the user to choose. Okay, so choose the currency. Maybe we add the currencies as a list that they have to choose. I mean, we already displayed the number of currencies up there, so they should choose one. And if they choose that one, then we'll also go ahead and ask for the two currency, right? Then we'll ask them to also choose that one. Great. So to me, one way that I would want to implement this, instead of going to do both the division, so if you want to go this route, I mean, the first thing you have to check is you'd always want to, in either cases, you always want to check what your tool is. Or I mean, I think would that be the best? So in this case, no. So if you want to do multiplication, then you have to make sure your from is from USD. If you want to do division, then you have to make sure your to is to USD. Yes, go ahead. Hi, J Keys. J Keys.
Yes, Doc.
Yeah.
Doc. Good evening. Good evening. Sorry.
Good evening.
I came late today. I was busy with something.
Okay.
Not available.
Alright, that's fine.
I guess you guys have been here for long.
We've been on for like 45 minutes.
Oh, okay. Alright.
Okay. Yeah, so what I'm thinking right now is in either case you'd have to check. I mean, if I want to do, if let's say my two currency is equal to, if it is equal to USD, then it means I'm going to go the division route, right? Else, so if 2 is not USD, it could be any other thing, but then I want to check else if. So in Python you do else if, like that. Else if from currency is equal to what, USD, then I'll do the multiplication. But by going this route, it means that you've left out the calculation for if it is a different currency to a different currency, like I mean without quoting the USD. Okay, so for now, let's do our implementation without considering this. So initially our code was just considering from USD to a different currency, and now we want to implement from a different currency to USD. I think by building it like that, it will make more sense. So all that we are doing here right now is we ask the person to provide us with the currency they want to convert from and the currency they want to convert to. Then we check if the currency you want to convert to is USD, then we want to go the division route. But if it is the from, so if it is not the 2 and the from is USD, you want to go the multiply route. I hope that makes sense. Do we all agree with that? Like, is there anything to be clarified about that, or you have a different opinion concerning that? Anyone with?
Okay.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So the last week when we were doing it,
Yeah.
I was trying to explain something, but I think maybe you didn't get me. So what I see from the code that you have written is that even when from currency is USD, that we are going in multiplication route.
Yeah.
What is happening there is that it still involves division actually, but the division is 1. That's why we are not considering it.
Yeah.
You understand? Like we are doing if USD is 1 USD to 1 unit of USD to another currency. So it's still like we are multiplying both divided by 1. But because that 1 is insignificant, like it will still give us the same. Yeah, that's why we are not considering it. So basically what it means is that like using the division to cover both cases will still work. So in that case, we don't need to do the if else, because we will just assume that, okay, like we just know that when you are entering your code, like the division part for the USD as a front currency will just be 1. So that's what I perceive about.
No, but how will you then know that this one, the division is 1 and this one is the particular rate?
Yeah, what I noticed is that when you want to convert from one currency to another, what they give you, like maybe you are using Google or something, what they give you is that they give you the like from rate and the to rate. They give you both. Do you understand? You know, maybe from dollar. Let's say for example, let's say for example from dollar to naira.
Okay.
Do you understand? So we know that $1 is equals to like 700, for example, 700 naira. Understand? Like you know both. What you need to supply now is maybe the dollar amount or the naira amount. So which means you have three values already, and you are looking for the fourth one. Do you understand?
So what you are saying right now, let's go this route. Let's say we are giving 1 USD is equal to 700 naira. That's what you are saying. And we want to convert, say, 50,000 naira. We want to convert 50,000 naira to USD. So how are you going to approach it?
So it's something like okay, from if we do it like this, we have our 700 and we have our 5,000. It will be like 5,000. We have the 50,000 divided by 50,000. You didn't write it the way like that 5,000 supposed to be at the bottom of 700. So it will
Yeah,
be
yeah.
50,000 multiplied by 1 divided by 700, right?
Then if you were given the same rates that we have right now,
Okay. I can't see that part of the screen.
you can see that part of my screen.
Yes.
Why?
Maybe because I'm using phone. Oh, I've seen it.
Okay.
Okay, I've seen it. Sorry.
So you're
Yeah.
using the same rates, and now you've been
Yeah.
asked to convert 400 USD to Naira. So how do you approach that?
400 USD to Naira now. It
Mm-hmm.
will be 700 multiplied by 400 divided by 1, which means that 1 will still be like insignificant, but we'll still get our answer.
So how will you know that in this case you are supposed to divide by 700 and multiply by 1 in your code, like code
Yes.
implementation?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. In our code now, it will be
Mm-hmm.
something like this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's say we are looking like for this side now, for
Mm-hmm.
the first one, for the first scenario now.
Yeah.
Let's say what we are looking for is USD amount, right? It
Mm-hmm.
will be it's
So
like
we are
I
looking
just
for
want to
our
like put it
final
like maybe
amount.
okay, final amount would
Mm-hmm.
be equal to um naira rate.
Remember that
Naira
I'm
naira naira amount.
so
Naira
the
amount.
the what we have right now, we'll have a rate. We have the final amount we
Yeah.
are looking for, amount to be converted. So that's what we have. So how do we get, we have, let's say, the rate quoted here as say 700. Let's use that. Then amount to be converted is 50,000.
Yes, and we
So
have another one to like the rate of the amount we want to convert. That is the dollar
so
rate. We have that
so
now.
so what you are saying right now is you are going to create two rate variables.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So you know when your dollar, your the amount you want to convert to, the rate of the amount you want to convert to, at the rate of the amount
But
you have already.
I mean with respect to these things, mostly it's like we know we are using the US as a standard, the USD as a standard right now, and it's always one USD. So would there be a need for that rate?
I think the rates are already in a dictionary form.
Yes, yes. Wait, that is with
So
what we have written. Okay.
what I will do is to avoid the division completely. Like I was saying before,
Yes.
the first
Okay.
thing I will do is if
But
you amount
Barakin,
you want,
Barakin, hold on. Please let AY finish his own. Then we'll come to your concept as well. Okay. So kindly
okay,
hold on a bit for us. So AY, are
okay.
you there?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what I think what we are trying to do is that we don't want to use USD as our standard. Like we want to be able to move from different currencies. That is, we want to be able to move from let's say naira to Ghana cedis.
Okay. So yes, that's possible. That's possible. But then what we've realized is that when they are quoting the rates, I mean, eventually what we are going to do is we are going to use the data that is available out there. We are not going to hard code these values in there. So it's not as if I'm going to go to Google and say one Ghana cedis is to, I mean, 200 Ghana cedis is to how many naira. Then I'll use it to do my rate, whatever rate that we are going to get, whether it is say Ghana cedis, where is this thing? Ghana cedis to naira. What we know is that the official rate that will be given will be like 1 Ghana cedis is equal to what naira. So we'll get the equivalent of naira. So at each rate that will be given, one of them will be quoted as 1. Do you get it?
Yes.
So that's why
Yes.
I'm saying, if we know that the other one, let's say here, I know this is 700 and the other one is 1, do I still need to go and create
Yes.
a variable for it because I know it is 1?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's the reason why you need to create a variable that will hold the 1 is that because when you are using the opposite, like when you are flipping the coin now, and you want to get the this thing of the second one, like now we have from USD to naira now, and when we want to get from naira to USD, so it's like you are flipping the same coin and having the same code, which means having division in your code will cater for both, whether you are divided by a value that is more than 1, or
So
you are
what
dividing by
I'll
a
do right
value
now
that is 1.
is I'll keep my opinion to myself for now and let you continue and finish this thing. So what you are saying is that we should create a new rate, say, let me say rate underscore USD for now.
Yes.
And this is 1.
Yes.
So
Yeah, so it will be final rate, a final amount. So let's say we have our 50,000 right? It will be final amount, and we have amount to be converted, multiplied by what do we have? We have USD rates. Then divided by everything will be divided by this thing now. The naira rate.
What are you doing here? Which currency are you converting to?
We are converting to. We want to get the dollar rate now.
So will it still be the same? Will it still be the same if you were converting from from this implementation that you have is from naira to USD? What if you want to convert USD to naira? Will it still be the same?
It's supposed to be the same because now, if you want to do that, we are not hard coding, right? We just have like from rate to rate. So it's supposed to be the same. Let's do it like this. Let's say now we are converting to naira now. So based on what we have before, our final amount will be like for naira. Okay, it will be equals to please let me see how we did it.
Come again.
Scroll up. I want to see how we did it. Yeah. So it will be 400, which is 400 is our the value of our
the
naira
amount to be converted
in dollar. Yeah. So it will be amount in dollar multiplied by naira rate divided by USD rate.
Yes. So how did you know? Like, how will you know that this is what you are supposed to do here? And this is because at the end of the day, that is the division that we were talking about. How did you know? Because
that's
what
I'm saying.
So relax, I'm
How
coming.
okay, sorry.
USD. So you, if I gave you, now you've calculated this you've established this your formulas to do that. But then if the person chose 40,000 naira, hey, I want to convert it to say USD. How will I know that I'm supposed to use this formula or that formula?
Okay, that's what I'm saying, that we won't add code like this. It won't be amounts like it won't be USD rates and naira rates. So what it will be is that we will see if you take both of them now, they have some things in common. Part of it is that amount to be converted is common to both, like they are the same.
Yeah.
So which means the variable that we will use at this time is for like amount to be converted multiplied by it to be rate rate to convert to multiply divided by rate to be converted. Like it will just be like you know if you check the one up now is
I mean,
rate
I
in
get, I
USD.
get everything you are saying, and I have a
Yeah,
feeling. No, like the feeling is, it's not different from when you say the division or the multiplication, because here each of these rates, like no matter where you are, one of them is going to be one. In this case, if this one is one, you are doing multiplication. If this one is one, you are doing division. So at the end of the day, you will still need to know if the person is converting from USD to Naira, or they are converting from Naira to USD, so that in your scenario you know whether you should be dividing with the rate of the Naira or the rate of the USD, like in this your calculation, because that is basically what you are doing here. That in this particular instance, when it was Naira to USD, you know that you are supposed to be dividing by the rate of the Naira, right?
okay.
When you came here, you are doing USD to Naira, you know that, oh, I'm supposed to divide with the USD. So at the end of the day, you still need to ask the user, which of these are you going to be doing? Are you converting from USD to Naira, or from Naira to USD? So that when I know that you are converting from Naira to USD, then I can say, okay, that will be multiplied by USD's rate divided by Naira. So in order not to even use these three, I feel that using the multiplication and the division will even be simpler, because then we are using just two variables. But then it depends on how you implement it, and I think Barokin is coming up with how he thinks we can approach it without necessarily doing both of them. But then the challenge with yours right now is not doing the checks. So you realize that earlier on I was trying to establish a check here to know which of the currency, the to currency and the from currency. So if I understand what you are saying, all that you wanted is, okay, now let's know from currency and to currency, and all the time what we are going to do is, based on this formula, we'll say this here was the to currency and here was the for currency, right? The for currency from currency. So in essence, you're saying amount to be converted times this is to currency over what is this from currency, right? The rate for that particular one. But then you still have to ask to know which one are you converting to, is it USD or Naira? Then you put them there. So at the end of the day, one is dividing, one is multiplying, depending on which one is the from and which one is the to. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I understand you. I understand you.
Yeah. So what you can do is, the link is inside the group right now. If you want, you can just copy the link and try and write the implementation of what you are saying that's probably I am not getting. Then we'll take it from there. Okay. But then I feel that, what I feel is that this isn't any different from what was earlier suggested, even though the implementation looks the same, because this one that you are talking about, we could always ignore one of them, because one of them will always be one. So essentially all that we are doing is that one. So in this case, let's say from Naira to USD, the USD was one. So at the end of the day, what we are doing is, actually we are doing division. And from USD to Naira, Naira was one. So at the end of the day, hey, one of them is supposed to be multiplication, one is supposed to be division. Like, I mean, that's how it will eventually end up
Yes, yes,
being.
exactly.
Okay, so Barokin. Hi, Barokin.
Hello, Doc.
Yeah. You wanted to share with us how we can avoid division and multiplication altogether and go just one route. So let's hear what your suggestions are.
So what I wanted to say was like, if I want to change any currency to dollar, it will just convert it and give me the output straight.
Okay. So
Else,
if we
if
have
I want to convert dollar from Dalasi to Naira, it's gonna convert the Dalasi to dollar and hold that amount for me. Then when I put the new currency that I want the output to, now it will use the rate and multiply it with that computation and give me that output.
Okay. Like we
So
that
in all
as
cases,
for that we agree. That's like the third option that we are looking at. Okay, so right now there are three implementations. The first implementation is from USD to any currency. Okay, that's the first implementation. The second implementation is from any currency to USD. Then the final implementation is from a currency apart from USD, from currency to currency, excluding the USD. When they didn't, I mean, the from and the to are not USD. So that is when you are saying that, okay, I will start and convert that currency to USD, and I'll convert the value in USD to the other currency. That we all agree. But now we are looking at how do we implement this part of the code from any currency to USD. Because if we know this, then we can easily implement this whole three thing, right? Or I'm not getting what you're saying.
what I was trying to say was like, if you can get the first one,
okay,
and the last one,
if you can get the first one and the last one,
yes, now you can get the second one using the other two. I'm actually driving, that's why I'm not concentrating. I'm just I have been driving for almost now.
Sorry. So I'm wondering how you would get the first one and get the third one when you don't know the second one, because the third one is basically the three. I mean, from from Ghana cedis to Naira. How will you get Ghana cedis to Naira if you don't know from Ghana cedis to dollars? So you are saying that we should do from Ghana cedis to dollars, right? Then we do from dollars to Naira. I think that's what you were saying. But then our question right now is, how do we do the Ghana cedis to dollar? That is what we are looking at. I mean, this particular implementation, how do we get it? If I gave you Ghana cedis, an amount in Ghana cedis, and I asked you to convert it to dollar, how are you going to achieve that? I mean, the implementation we have here makes sense, and there are a number of ways you can go about it. So with the example that I was giving here, based on what we have already established, that if your two currency is USD, then you are going to do division. Okay, so if we are going to use what AI was suggesting, he was saying that, okay, I just need to know what my to is and what my from is. And if let's go back to what he did there. So from this implementation, maybe I have to rewrite this thing. I was going to just manipulate the rate so that it becomes easier, and the rest will become multiplication. But then let's try this. So from, say, Ghana cedis to USD, and from USD to Ghana cedis, and all we know is that we have amount to be converted. So these are the variables we are working with: the from currency, and to currency, right? And to currency, and the rates that were given, as well as the final amounts. So these are like the variables that we are dealing with, the final amounts. So let's assume in the first case, so let's do case 1, case 2. In the first case, amount to be converted is, let's take a round figure, that's 1000 and 1000 over here as well. This 1000 to be converted is, say, from Ghana cedis to USD, whilst in this case is from USD to Ghana cedis. So the rates that we have, like as I always say, if you are dealing with Ghana cedis and dollars, they will quote the value 1 USD to what's Ghana cedi. So if I say 13, it means that 13 Ghana cedis is to $1. So the same will apply here. Now, how do we get the final amount? Okay, so from my understanding of what AI was trying to help us do, is like amount to be converted will be equal to the final amount to be equal to amount to be converted multiplied by, what did we multiply by? That's the two currency. So the two currency, he was using the rate for the two currency. So now let's stick with that two currency and divided by the from currency, right? So he feels that this general formula should work for every one of them. So all we need to know is which one is the two currency and which one is the from currency. So if our two currency in the first instance, case 1, two currency is USD, from currency is Ghana cedis. So here case 1, so let's build case 1. 2 is what? Ghana cedis, right? 2 is USD. Okay, where are you? 2 is USD and from is Ghana cedis. So what we have to do is our final amount will be equal to amount to be converted, which is 1000 times the 2 is USD, so that is 1, because it's quoted as 1 USD to 13 Ghana cedis. Then we divide by 13, and that will be for the case 1. Then for case 2, we are going to have final amounts to be equal to 1000 multiplied by, this time around, our 2. So here 2 is Ghana cedis and from is USD. So our 2 here becomes the Ghana cedis, which is 13 divided by what? 1. Okay, so essentially that is like what I was saying. Here we are just doing 1000 divided by 13, whilst here we are doing 1000 multiplied by 13. Okay, but at the end of the day, you still needed to know which one is the 2 and which one is the from, so that you grab their rates. Then you say, okay, for 2 is 1, so I'll do this multiplication by 1, and for from is 13, so I'll divide by 13. And you have just introduced one extra variable which really didn't need to be there, because essentially it's 1 and it has no impact on it. So we could summarize that and make it depending on whether you are using a 2 or from. Okay, so that's what I was trying to implement, asking this part, that if it is the two currency is USD, then you know that you are doing division. If the from currency is, the reason why we are using this is because this is what they usually quote as the standard. That's why I'm just saying that the USD, because we are using the USD as the standard. The moment we stop using USD as a standard, this code will not be valid. The implementation I'm showing here will not be valid. So I know that, okay, if my USD is a standard, then I want to check, are we converting to USD? If we are converting to USD, I'm going to divide by that the other currency's rate. If we are converting from USD, I'm going to multiply by the other currency's rate. So that for this our 1,000 Ghana cedis we want to convert to USD, all that I'm going to do is 1,000 divided by the rate, which is 13. Then else if the from, so if it is rather 1,000 USD to Ghana cedis, then we are going to do multiplication. So this becomes 1,000 times 13. This is not programming. I mean, but then at the end of the day, when you are solving some of these things, they are important. So people will see such a video and say, hey, programming is mathematics. So if you don't know mathematics, you don't know programming. I mean, it's not really like that. But then it depends on what you are solving. Now you are trying to solve a currency, you are trying to build a currency converter. So you should know how the dynamics of this whole thing works. Please, do we get this concept? So now we can set the USD as our standard because we know that it will always be quoted as 1. Once we know the USD is our standard and it will always be quoted as 1, we can then focus on this the other currencies rate. So if we are converting to USD, we are going to divide by the other currency. If we are converting from USD, we are going to multiply by the other currency. So to me, what I would have done is, if the rate that we have here is 13, so if I am to convert to USD, I would make my rate, the rate will become 1/13. Okay, and if I'm to convert from USD, the rate will be just 13. That is how I want to, like, I would want to implement it if I'm left alone to do it. So all that I'm going to check is, I want to know because the USD is my standard. Okay, so I want to know, are you converting to USD? So if you are converting to USD, or you are converting from USD, if you are converting to USD, the rate that I'm going to use is 1 over whatever rate that we're given. But if I'm converting from USD, then the rate is actually equal to the rate that we were given. Does that make sense? Anyone has? Okay. Does anyone has a concern with this? So that if I say convert, let's use Naira, we know that 1 USD is equal to, say, 700 Naira. So if I say convert 1,000 Naira to USD, all you need to know is, am I converting to USD or from USD? If I'm converting to USD, my rate here will be equal to, here they said I should convert to USD, so my rate now becomes 1/700. Then in my final implementation, it's always going to be multiplication. So final amount will always be amount to be converted times the rate. But then my rate is determined here based on whether I'm converting to USD or I'm converting from USD. Please don't just consume it because I said it. I mean, that's my thought, and probably we would always have to test the things out to see if it applies to all cases, or there are edge cases that it doesn't pass and we have to revise it. But then I feel that based on all that we have discussed, this is like the simplest implementation, so that with the function that we have already written, the function should still work. We don't need to go and create a new function. All we need to know is, are we converting to USD or from USD, like that. So let's see how we are going to implement this in code, by getting back to our code and seeing currently what we have here is this rate that we get. Okay, so after we've gotten this particular rate based on the currency that the person chose, but then we even have to do two things here now, because here we just said which currency choose your currency's number, and we were forcing them to choose the currency because we are converting from USD to that particular currency. Okay, so what we are going to do this time around is we are going to ask them to choose what from and to. So let's implement that quickly. Add a new one. Maybe I should start naming the files well. Convert. So let me make a bot.py at least for now. I'll have to learn how to name files. Then here let's go back and copy what we had in here. Our focus right now is just to get the output right and make sure we are getting the user's input as well. So yes, we are going to print this one. Currently is a currency converter, but the implementation we're about to do is just between any currency to USD or USD to any currency. Those are the two that we are doing right now. Okay, let's finish with that, then we can think about the others. And these are the available currencies. So what we want to now do is we want the user to tell us which currency are you converting from and to which currency. Okay, so since the code is not going out, the program is not going out right now, so we can stop there where we ask to which currency are you converting from and from which currency. But then we are going to make sure for now we are only going to be working from any currency to USD or from USD to any currency. Before finally we will now write one that implements all or any currency at all. So now let's say instead of this, let's change it to, this will end up breaking our code. But then I think that's fine. So what we are going to do is we will do currency from is equal to, then we'll ask them for their input, right? And so maybe we'll just say from currency, just to make it simple enough. Say from currency number. Then the next one will be currency 2. So let's make this 2, currency 2. Then this becomes 2 currency number. So at the end of the day, we are going to get, we can get rid of this. We are going to get these two variables, accept the values from the end user. Which currency are we converting from and which currency are we converting to? Okay. And after we've gotten that, so now that means that we'll have to keep track of, we can't just use currency, we have to use currency from and currency to, so that we know this is the currency from, this is the currency to. You have to keep track of that as well. Okay. Would there be a very easy way to do it without necessarily repeating ourselves? Because I feel we are going to be repeating ourselves for this particular tool. Maybe if we had a function doing this checking for us, that would be easier, so that we don't have to repeat ourselves. Yeah, so this is like some of the things that you think through about. Right now, to implement this to work correctly, we have to get, this is just a number, but then we have to get the equivalent, the equivalent how do I call it, currency here. The other thing we can do is, because this currency was used in the rate, we can decide to ignore all of these. So for now, I think let me go that route so that it becomes easier on us, or better still, delete it. We have it over there, so when we need it, we'll go and pick it. Let me show a simpler implementation. So we can get rid of these, and instead of using this dictionary, we'll use the numbers instead. So that will become very easy for us, because you are going to type in a number. But then the problem becomes, what if they didn't type a number that you want? So yeah, we'll sort that one out later. There are several ways we can implement it, as we've always said. Do we make it? No. So I feel that, okay, anyway, it should work. 2, 3, then 4 and 5. So currently we are not going to do any form of defensive programming. We are just going to allow it, so that we just want to make sure that it's functional, like it's working the way that it's working. Then we'll bring in all the defensive mechanisms, so that it's not abused or it's not used the wrong way somehow. So now we know that any of these things is going to return as what? Is going to return, what is it called? It's going to return as, what am I going to say? I mean, this is from a number, like a number. So if you chose 1, then we are getting this rate. Okay, but the problem is we really don't know. Hey, no, what I wanted to do is just to keep track of these things. And that's why it was good to use this dictionary in the first place. We may go back to it, but then let's see how we can easily implement this. If you have a different suggestion, you can always come up with that suggestion. Let's try out various suggestions as well. Okay, so this is what is happening right now, so that we know that if it is 1 that you chose, 1 belongs to 13.9, 2 belongs to this, Ghana cedis, 2 belongs to D, 3 belongs to this, and 4 belongs to that, like that. So the next thing we want is, okay, the amount to be converted. Let's get that. Then the rates. So with the rates, we no longer have this currency. Okay, and as I said earlier, we are going to check whether the to is USD or the from is USD. Then we know how to implement the rate. So for rate, before I do that, I would want to check. Wow, you realize our numbers, we don't have USD in here, so that means we would have to now include USD. Okay, so what I would do is copy this and add it at the back here, where this becomes 6 and this becomes USD. So 6 will represent USD, and that means that we don't need to add it to our dictionary, but here we can do the checks here. Where is the rate? I deleted everything relating to rate. Okay, so let's do the calculation for rate here. Getting the exact rate. So from what I showed earlier, we are just going to check if the from, so if currency from is equal to, we want equal to the USD, which is 6. Okay, so if it is 6, then this is what we want to do. We want to say rate is equal to, what did I say over there? I've even forgotten. So if 2, okay, we are working on from. So if from is equal to rate, then we just go ahead and assign the rate. So the rate here is this particular currency dict. Then which key are we passing to rate? We are passing this as the key. because it will give the number of the other currency. So grab the very rate here. That's what we are looking for. But then if it is, so else if currency 2 is equal to 6, then our rate becomes 1 divided by, here's my division. You can't imagine what I'm looking for on my computer right now. How do you even divide? Hey, is that not division? Please help me. This is division, right? I mean,
that's division.
See, in my mind right now, I'm looking for this on my keyboard, like this symbol on my keyboard. Can you imagine? Yeah, so we want to do this, and basically it's this rate that we are grabbing, but this time around we'll be grabbing that of corresponding to the from. Yeah, so something like this. Maybe I'll put this in brackets so that I don't get any unnecessary outcome. Yes, so something like this now becomes our rate. Then we should expect that every other thing works. Hey, somebody has gotten angry over here. Oh, okay, currency. We've taken out currency, so let's get rid of this. Okay, great. So yeah, this is what we have right now, and hopefully this should help us do the work. So you see, we are not coming here to touch anything. This function still works, should work as fine as we want it to. So what can we do? Let's do our calculation outside before we come and use the code to try it out and see. Using, say, the Ghana cedis, where we have 13.9 to 1 USD. So let's say we are converting 1000 USD to Ghana cedis. That should be what? 13900, right? Ghana cedis. So let's try this and see if we'll get the same outcome. Clear all of these. Clear. Then let's run our program. Python converts this. Okay, so from currency number, what did we do? The Ghana cedis. No, we did USD to Ghana cedis, right? 1000 USD to Ghana cedis. So our from is 6. So we'll go ahead and say 6. And 2 is Ghana cedis. So Ghana cedis is 1. Then how much do you want to convert? We are converting 1000, right? Then the value is 13,900. So yeah, we got that. Now let's try the other way around, where we still have the 13 this, but we want to convert this value, which is 13,900. So essentially we should be getting back our 1000 USD. So let's try that again. Run our program. And from currency now is Ghana cedis, so 1. Then 2 currency is now 6, which is USD. Then how much do you want to convert? We want to convert 13,900 cedis to USD. We expect 1000 and we got 1000. So that is like one of the implementations that we can use to achieve this. Any questions? I mean, we are still open to different implementations because there are thousands of ways that you can achieve this thing.
Doc, sorry, I wanted to just ask. The currency, the converter, is it static? Because normally rates changes. So I don't know. If
so
you guys have thought about.
I believe you probably weren't present last week. Yes, so
I wasn't. Yeah.
They are not static like that, but then we are now trying to just focus on building the functionality where all the calculations are working. and eventually
okay.
we should get to the point where we would be using an API to grab real-time data to do the conversion.
Okay.
Yes, so for now we are just
Okay.
building on to make sure that it is working.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, so
Right.
in any other concern, or like you have a different way that you think we should implement it, just bring up the suggestion and let's go with it. So we still have an outstanding thing to do, and that is converting from any currency to any of the others, from one currency to any of the others. So yeah, someone help us with the current implementation that we have. Let's see the time. We have like less than 30 minutes to end the session. So let's quickly try that and see if we can get that done. If we are able to do that, then next week we'll try and see how we can use object-oriented programming to help, use the whole program, convert it to OOP. Then after that, we can now start looking at using the API to grab the data and getting real-time data. Then after that, we can look at converting the application to a graphical user interface application that becomes usable. Okay, so yes, any ideas on how we can implement the third option where now we don't have to necessarily choose USD to be able to convert it? What do you think? Let me hear from you. Some of you haven't spoken. Yes. Or you are tired, we should close.
Yeah, Doctor, what I'm thinking about is that if you want to do it, like I'm just thinking about it, which means since we are using USD as a standard, which means part of our code would have done that for us, it would have converted. So we would put the is the result the amount of
Your line is breaking. I don't know if it's coming from my end, but I'm struggling to hear you.
No, it's not just your end.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Is it better now, Doctor?
Okay, I can hear you.
It's much better now.
Okay, so what I'm saying is that USD, since we are using USD as standard, which is in our code, we will have the USD, like we will convert from the amount we want to convert from Ghana cedis to Naira now, for example. So we'll convert from Ghana cedis to USD, then from USD to Naira, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying, that we have the conversion for this to USD will be inside our code already.
The last part is what I'm not getting. The conversion.
I said the conversion will be inside our code already. Yeah, so that the only thing that we just need is I think what we need from user will be the this thing that we want to convert to. The only thing that will be asked from the user is the rate of the currency we want to convert to.
Right now we can always get the rates, because we are just asking, tell us the currency you want to convert from. So you see here, we checked if it is equal to the US dollars. That's what we actually did here. But then what if it's not equal to the US dollars? So currently we are setting rates only when it is equal to the US dollars. And we are setting these rates. So if it is not equal to the US dollars, then how would we implement it? So we all have 1 minute to think about it. Myself, I'm also thinking about it. Your time starts. Okay, Adele, yes.
You know, we talk about programming and coding, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times there's this paradigm about computing, right? So you're just doing it on a computer. This program is something that you would do with a pen and paper, or if you're good in math, you can do in your head, right? So how would you do this? If you're not coding it, how would you do this like on paper, pen and paper?
Exactly.
When you have that process down, that's what you want to implement in code.
Exactly.
Right? So have that pseudocode or whatever you want to call it, right? How would you do this if you had the pen and paper in front of you and you want to do this calculation, right? You want to convert, for example, 1,000 USD to Kenyan shillings or whatever combination or whatever direction you want to use. How would you do this? You would have some calculation that you would do with the logic that you would apply.
Yeah.
Right? You don't want to apply that in code. So if you have that logic already, you determine how you want to build the program. And I think the problem is that we all have different ways of doing that. And that's why we are having clashes about how to do the program. So yes, but if you have that mental model, you can write your own program out.
Very true.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you for adding that. And as we might have seen, when I'm doing this, we go back to the board to write it out, try and understand it before we go back to write it. So just as Adewale is suggesting, I gave us 1 minute. Now you need to, like, it's a time you need to take down your pen and paper and try and write it out. So we want to convert, say, Naira to Ghana cedis. How will you do that? Assuming that all you knew was, I mean, that's, you would have thought, oh, let me just go to Google and find out what's the rate between Naira and cities. But then imagine, doesn't mean you won't get, I don't think we'll get that kind of data set where they map each and every currency in the world to the other. I don't think so. So what we will get, which I want to believe will exist, is every currency will be mapped to the USD. So at the end of the day, we know that for the data sets that we are going to be working with, it is always going to be a currency mapped to the USD. But then we want to map one currency to the other. So how are we going to approach it? Okay, so we know that, as we were saying, we are definitely going to go this route, convert the Naira to USD, then the USD value that we get will then convert to Ghana cedis. So basically, if you were given this, you go through these two routes. But then, how do you approach it? I hope you are thinking through it. We have 1 minute. Your time starts now.
Doc, I still did not get direction.
Oh, I'm just saying that we should think through how, if you have Naira to Ghana cedis, in terms of code implementation, how are you going to implement it? Because now, from how we have approached our work, we've approached the such that we know how to convert a currency to USD, and we also know how to convert USD to Ghana cedis. But now we've been given two different currencies for us to convert. So how are you going to go about that? I mean, you can deviate from what we've already written, because at the end of the day, I'm still going to create a new file that we are going to use for this particular implementation. But then the new file that I'm going to create should be able to do all the three things. You should be able to do whether you are converting from Naira to USD, or USD to Naira, or Naira to Ghana cedis, or any currency at all, provided the rate for that currency has been provided in our code as it stands now. So how will you implement it such that we can move from one currency to the other?
Hello, Doc.
Yeah.
So me, the kind of idea I have, I'm still trying to stick with it.
Okay.
So right? You asked me we can convert now from any currency to USD.
Yeah.
So I was trying to convince you that like we convert any currency we have to USD, then USD to any currency we want.
Yeah. Exactly.
By
Yeah.
communication. So now, the second part, what I want to do is to create another dictionary where I will have every currency in the rate of the USD. Now, when I want to convert USD to any currency, what is the rate?
Yeah.
I'll save it
So
in the dictionary.
we
Now I'll have two dictionaries.
wait, I'm coming. We already have a
Okay.
dictionary. I mean, I'm just trying to make sense of what you're saying. We already have a dictionary, and what that dictionary does is it gives us the rate with respect to USD. So our currencies. So we had Ghana cedis equivalent to the rate is 13.9 naira. The rate is 700 as we had it. So we already have this dictionary. Are you saying that we are going to create? I mean, you are going to create a separate dictionary, or this is enough for you?
Yes, for the second part, like converting from
I can't hear you now. I can't hear you now.
save US in that.
I think your network has some issues now. I can hear you. No, I can't hear you. Okay, so any other person? What have you thought about? How will you approach something like this? But I think everybody should be able to talk about this. These are things we do normally, or like in your daily life. Don't you convert money, currencies? Or we haven't gone international yet to be converting currencies? Yes, anyone? Yeah. Barokin, we are struggling to hear you. Like,
Are you hearing me now?
yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, can you put it like this for me? Number one will be any currency to another currency. That will
Okay.
be my first implement
Any currency
to
to
another currency.
yeah, so that's basically what we've been asked to do. Like that's the whole thing that we are looking at right now.
So if that will
Mm-hmm.
be my number, then my number will be USD to any currency.
USD to any currency. Okay.
Now my number three will be any currency to USD.
Okay. So how are you going to implement this? The first
So
one.
what I was the first one and the last one,
Mm-hmm.
when I want to implement that, I will call the dictionary that we created before, like
Okay.
Dalasi to the rate.
Okay.
But for the middle one, I'm going to now convert $1 is how many USD? That will be 0.0 something. I'll store that one.
Okay.
One CDs will be how many USD? So that will be a separate dictionary on of its own. Now, anytime I want to convert any currency, any USD to that currency, now I'll just go to the second
Oh.
dictionary and multiply
Okay.
it to the
Okay.
amount.
Okay.
That was
I
what I
know.
was trying.
Okay. So I get that point. Well, that's not so different from what we did, except that we didn't use the dictionary to do that. Because that rate you are talking about will definitely be just 1 over the rate. Okay. So you are just saying that we should find 1 over the rate for each of the currencies and put it in another dictionary. And that's like we are taking up another space. So you'd rather say, hey, just grab that rate from the existing dictionary and find one out of that rate instead of going to create a new dictionary and storing that there. Do you get the point? Do you get the point? So
Yes, I get it.
so you don't necessarily need to create the dictionary to be able to do that. You know that if they gave you 13.9, you're looking for the other one, you're just going to do 1 over 13.9. So where you need it, just score 1 over the value that you had from the dictionary. But then my focus is on how you are going to achieve this particular thing. How are you going to convert any currency to the other? That's like the headache we have right now. Or should this be an assignment? We go, because we have less than 10 minutes now. We'll go and come next week to continue that part. So what have you thought about so far? Let's discuss it. We are not going to write a code. We'll come back next week, God willing, to write a code for that. But then what have you thought about so far? Let's see. If you want to convert any currency to the other currency, how will you approach it? Yes, I feel everybody should talk. This is not necessarily programming, so you should be able to share your thoughts about it. All you know, or all that has been provided, is the rate with respect to USD. But then you are being asked to convert from one currency to the other, excluding the USD. So it's not USD. So convert Naira to Ghana cedis or Ghana cedis to Naira. How will you approach that? Hi, J Keys. J Keys.
Yes, Doc. Yes, Doc.
How would you want to? I mean, think through it. If a friend of yours or your younger sibling asked you,
Yeah, I've been actually trying to think it through, but nothing has actually come through.
So right now, if I ask you, you have 1,000 Naira, you need to convert it to Ghana cedis. Won't you be able to convert it to Ghana cedis?
Just apart from the method you implemented now, the using the dollar as this thing, I'm still trying to think about other.
Yeah, no,
other
it's not necessarily going
ideas.
to. It's not
So
necessarily
apart from
going.
the dollar, using the dollar as this thing.
Yeah,
I've not
so
thought of any other way.
I'm not saying that like you should use a different way. We just want like a detailed implementation of that. So we know that you can use that's the method that we have here. First convert the Naira to USD, then convert this to that. So step by step, how you are going to approach it. What are you going to ask your user? Your user is going to give you two information from what we have right now. We know they are going to give you the to currency and the from currency. What are you going to do with this to be able to get the final value for them? That's the whole point.
Yeah, so the two currency and the from currency. So for example, if you're converting naira to naira to
cedis.
Yeah, so let's say your two is naira, converting to naira.
Okay, so let me write it out well. So let's say that I gave you 1,000 Naira to convert to cedis. Let's see how we are going to implement it. I don't know. How are we going to implement that?
Okay, so the two is 1,000 naira, and converting to cedis. So what we'll do is
I can't hear you.
Just give me a second.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to think it through.
Okay, sure. All right. So the next person, Abiolade. Hi, Abiolade. You haven't. I mean, I haven't heard you speak. I think yesterday you joined the session. I didn't hear from you, and today too, I'm here to hear from you. Yeah. I hope you are doing well.
To convert 1,000 to Ghana cedis, I think first we have to get the rate at which Ghana cedi is converted to dollar.
Okay. So that has been provided to be 1 USD is equal to 13.9 cedis, and 1 USD is equal to 700 naira. So these are the information.
So once we can convert that to dollar, then we have to convert it to
Yes.
I'm still struggling with getting. I know.
Okay, that's fine.
I still have.
All right. Next person, that will be Kobe. Hi, Kobe. Hi, Kobe. Come and let's do mathematics. Kobe, are you there? Then Amanu. Kobe and Amanu, any of you? Any of you? Hi, Amanu. Hello. Oh, okay. Anyway, time is really not on our side now.
Thank you. So, doctor.
Yeah.
Since what we want to do is to convert from naira to Ghana cedis, and we said USDs are standard. So what we'll just do is 1/700 multiplied by 1,000.
So tell us, like, how did you come? Yeah. Hey,
Doctor,
where's?
can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay, I can hear you. So how did you come about? Like, let us all appreciate it. Okay. Yeah, Amanu, I can hear you now. I can hear you now. You've muted yourself. I could hear you, but you've muted yourself. Okay. Anyway, so I was saying that you should walk us through how you ended up getting 1 over this, so that when we are writing the code,
Hello,
we'll know.
doctor.
Yeah.
Oh, you are breaking. Okay, you can hear me now.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So what's actually happening is that since we said we want to like convert from 1,000, firstly we want to convert from 1,000 to USD. We want to convert it to USD, naira to USD. So what we do is that we have our rate. We have our rate, which is 700, right? And we know that our rate for dollar is 1 to 700. So that's why if you want to convert that rate to dollar now, that's when we do 1/700. Just like we did um
Hi. Sorry about that. My network went off.
okay.
Yeah, but I'm back now.
Okay. So I was saying, since we have our rates, dollar to naira, which is 1 to 700, and we want to get our dollar rate, so that's why we have to do 1/700, like we did in our code.
Okay, so what you are doing is converting from
From
the naira
naira to dollar.
to dollar. Okay, so that we've tried the implementation before, where it's basically what the rate times the amount, right? That's what we got. This, oh, that's not it. Times the rates.
One, I think is 1/700, 1 over the rate
Oh,
multiplied
okay.
by
Okay, so it
the
should be
amount.
1 over the rate, like this.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then the next thing
So
that
we
we are
have
going
our
to do.
USD
Okay, so let
is
me
to convert
put.
from USD to
So this will be 1,000 times say 1 over 700. Then whatever value
yeah.
we get. So let's use a calculator to get a rough figure that we can work with. Say 1,000 divided by 700. Okay, so let's use 1.4. So now we have 1.4 USD to convert to Ghana cedis. So how do we go about that?
Okay. What we'll just do is to, since we are converting from USD to I think we know our this thing, our Ghana cedis rate to be 13.9, right? And I think what we just do is just multiply 1.4 by 13.9.
So doing this, we are going to have 1.4 times the rate of Ghana cedis, right? So that will be 13. Okay, so these are two steps implementation. Now, what I want, I mean, this will end up with the right answer that we are looking for. So what we are going to look at is how to implement this in your code. Okay, you may want to refactor the code that we have to suit what you want to achieve, or you may want to go with the code that we have right now to be able to achieve the same results. Here we were checking if currency is USD. I mean, if the from currency is USD, we set the rate to this. If the to currency is USD, we set the rate to this. But then the other implementation is where it is not going to be any of these. Okay, so if it is not, the from is not USD and the to is not USD, that means that we have the other implementation. So how will you now achieve what you have shared with us right now here in terms of code? How are you going to achieve that? So let me leave that as an assignment since our time is fast spent. And once again, the code is available. I feel that I have to start copying this code away before somebody enters and make changes to what we have already done. But then for now, the code is available, so you can, I'm dropping it in the chat again. It's already even there, but I'm dropping in the chat again so that you can have access to it. Go through it, see how you are going to implement it, such that, I mean, we are all writing this code together, so the program is written by all of us, so you have equal rights to the code that is written. Grab the same code, put it on your editor or whatever you are using, then try and implement this part. such that now when we pass any other currency, it will be able to do the conversion. I hope that is fine. So that next week when we come, I want to hear the various implementations that you were able to come up with. Then we'll finish that one and now move on to using object-oriented programming to achieve the same outcome. Any questions with regards to that, or suggestion, or additions, anything? Yes. Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. Yeah.
Let me chip in.
All right.
So I think we've gone most of the way with this. We have, if you just look at the, we already have like an algorithm, or not an algorithm, or like a pseudocode what we want to do. So you now be dependent on how you want to implement it, like how you would do it yourself, right? So yeah. So I think everybody should be able to write this program now the way they want to do it, right? So you've highlighted the important steps. You can leave the flow or the approach however you want to do it. If you want to use two dictionaries, can use two dictionaries. If you want to use an intermediate stage, can do that. Like you actually have an intermediate value instead of plugging everything together in one place. You can do that. If you want to use functions for the different steps, can do that. So yeah, anybody can implement. Anybody should be able to implement this their own way. After like sitting through this session. So yeah, so I think next week everybody should have their own implementation. And we can then look how to now move from a it's supposed to be functional, right?
Kind of, but we ended up writing only one function. So it would also be nice if people can go ahead and abstract some of these things into functions. I think that would also be very nice.
And then we want to move to an objects-oriented approach next week. So yeah, I think we did good. And we hope to do better next week.
All right, that's good. It's good to hear. And please again, don't forget. At least if you forget, you try and do this particular one, the implementation, because that's like, I mean, sometimes people complain that we watch tutorials, we don't get to practice and everything. And from yesterday's talk, we all realized that coming up with projects like this and doing them, implementing it in your way, coming to see how somebody else to implemented it, it all adds up to the learning. And in fact, these are like things that you want to do to actively grasp the concepts so well that you can use them anywhere, anyhow. I mean, anytime that you need to use them. So I advise that we all do it. I know that we have a lot of things on us. Our schedules are very tight and all that. But then if you could spend like 15 minutes, we've already finished the brainstorming. So try writing out the code, see how you can implement it. Even if it takes you more than 15 minutes, just find time enough to be able to do it. The moment you've gone through it extensively, like you've struggled through it and you finally reach that point where you've solved it, when you come here, there's a lot more learning, because then you can engage and also you can get to see how other people are also implementing it, and you get to learn from their perspective as well. So let's try our best to do that, and hopefully, God willing, next week we will meet again. Next week Friday will be Tech Party Talk, then Saturday as usual will be our live coding session where we'll continue with this. So I look forward to seeing you all, God willing, next week, and enjoy the rest of your weekend, and make sure you are preparing for the next week as well. Anyway, so until we meet again, I think that would be a bye for now. So bye everyone.
Can I just add that we should also consider after implementing, consider doing some testing. Right? You want to look for,
okay,
especially for edge cases.
yeah,
So that's something to just consider.
okay. So let's take note of that. Make sure you test your cases, like I mean test your code and make sure it is working. Like any amount that somebody enters, any currency that they choose, okay, all of those things should work. So do all to test it, and God willing we'll meet next week. Thank you all so much. I appreciate your time here, and I really appreciate you all for your contributions and advocate I mean contributing towards the success of today's meeting. Thank you, and see you some other time. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.